There are two characters in One Piece who have been inspired by the philosophy of Rox D. Zebek, Blackbeard and Loki. And both of these characters are bent on the same path, the destruction of this world. This is the great divide between the diverging paths of the Will of D. There is the first path, the path of light, the path that Roger inspired, and the second path, the path of darkness, that Rox inspired. Roger's path aims to bring the dawn, inspiring his successors, Shanks and Luffy, to follow in his footsteps. Rox's path aims to destroy the world, and that is what his successors, Blackbeard and Loki, pursue. The symbolic clash between these two philosophies took place at the beginning of the Great Pirate Era, between Roger and Rox at God Valley, and it was Roger who triumphed then. And so it was Roger who got to pass on his will to the world, so that the right type of person that he wanted could find the One Piece and bring the proper dawn. However, while Rox was defeated and his voice seemingly erased from history, his faint echoes still rang through the ears of a certain few. His will persisted, and so the second path to fulfilling the Will of D survived through figures like Marshall D. Teach, and now seemingly through the Prince of the Giants as well. While Roger's path won the initial battle, the final war is coming. Rox's legacy has not yet died out, and the true war for deciding the future of the world will come down to the final successor of both sides, Luffy and Blackbeard. But the brilliance of this all is that this divide goes back before even Joy Boy's time. Rather, it goes back to the ancient question of what Nika himself is supposed to represent: destruction or liberation. We know that every crucial juncture that the world faces, it falls upon a warrior to bring about a great change. But no one, not even the followers of Nika, can agree upon what that change is supposed to look like. And so this divide has persisted throughout the centuries of those who follow the philosophy of the world needing a destroyer, and those who follow the philosophy of the world needing a liberator. And the true nuanced answer of One Piece as to what change is actually supposed to look like can be found by tracing back through the history of the three worlds, through understanding the progression of the characters who have followed Roger and Rox, and through looking ahead to the conclusion at the end of the third world, wherein the two visions of Nika are set to collide once and for all. But first, I've got an amazing deal for Surfshark VPN for you all. Right now, Surfshark is offering my viewers a subscription for less than $3 a month. That's right, while most VPNs cost $13 to $15 a month, right now Surfshark VPN, the sponsor for this video, is allowing my viewers to use Surfshark for less than $3 a month. Not only that, but any viewers that sign up for Surfshark right now can keep Surfshark VPN at the price of $3 a month for up to 2 years if you want. And you'll even get 4 extra months free. If you're unsure of whether or not you want to try it out, you can also try it with zero risk, because Surfshark is also giving you a 30-day money-back guarantee. And in case you don't know what a VPN is, VPNs are what pretty much everyone is using nowadays online. Normally, you are locked to your regional location, but with a VPN, you can change your location to anywhere that you want on the planet. You can stream football for free by switching locations, you can play in game servers in Asia, you can get access to anime that's streaming for free on Netflix only in Japan. If you're not using a VPN, then you're seriously missing out. And if you are using a VPN, then you should stop wasting so much money and instead switch to Surfshark, which is basically free right now. So get your Surfshark deal today for less than $3 a month. Just go to surfshark.com/Morge or use code Morge for 4 extra months of Surfshark with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Link in the description below, or just scan the QR code. So that aside, the way that Oda developed this philosophical divide was very carefully slow and piecemeal so that we could gradually put together the entire ideological conflict. First, we were simply made to understand that Roger was passing on a will that needed to be fulfilled. He wanted to pass down the One Piece so that someone could find it and fulfill this mysterious Will of D. And what was important about this will was that the One Piece needed to be found by the right type of person. Someone like Blackbeard was explicitly not meant to be the one to answer the call. For a long time, it seemed as though Blackbeard was simply an outlier in this whole mess. The will of the D-Tribe was passed down 800 years back to be fulfilled by a D-Tribe member. Roger seemingly couldn't fulfill it because of illness, and so he left it to be done by someone else. It had to be a D-Tribe member who carried the right values, but Blackbeard was strangely the one D-Tribe member we knew of who was evil and therefore not a worthy successor. However, now we've learned that this was all just the tip of the iceberg. Roger was merely the inheritor of Joy Boy's will from 800 years back. But even Joy Boy was merely part of a repeating cycle that was far grander than any reader could have imagined. Supposedly, any time that the world was suffering and the people of the world were crying out for change, a great agent of change would come upon the world, Nika, and he is the one who is meant to bring about the collapse of the existing order and bring a shift in the paradigm. All the followers of Nika revere him for being this agent of change, but where these beliefs diverge is in what type of change he is supposed to bring. Is Nika supposed to save the world or destroy it? That is the question that no one can agree upon, and this goes back to the previous resets of the first world and the second world, before even Joy Boy's time. Everyone can agree that an agent of change, a great warrior who can reset the world, is meant to come, but no one can agree on how he is supposed to do it. And every major figure we've seen in the story has just represented a continuation of this fundamental disagreement. Joy Boy left behind a will that would hopefully bring the dawn of the world, and from everything we know of Joy Boy, he likely represented the path of liberation. Roger simply heard Joy Boy's messages from the past and continued to carry that will down, thereby opening the door for someone else in the future to bring about Joy Boy's path of liberation. That will was passed on to Shanks, who then realized that Luffy was the one who could one day liberate the world, the quote-unquote correct way as Joy Boy envisioned. But you know what? Nothing technically says that Joy Boy's path was necessarily correct, or even the only path. That's what was missing from this picture the whole time, and that's where Rox and his legacy comes in. To begin with, just because Joy Boy and Luffy have this Nika fruit that seems to reflect a laughing warrior of liberation rather than an evil destroyer, that doesn't mean that this is what Nika himself is actually like. Remember, it was very, very painstakingly explained to us that devil fruits just represent people's beliefs. This is just what people believe Nika to be like, and there have already been a lot of hints that there may be another variation of the Nika fruit, but that's something that I've covered in more detail in other videos that you can watch here, for example. Just because Joy Boy had the Nika fruit and has passed down this message to the future of saving the world by bringing the dawn and so on, just because Roger chooses to believe in Joy Boy's will and continue to pass that down, none of that means that this vision is correct, because at the end of the day, what needs to be remembered is Joy Boy failed. Joy Boy is the one who lost 800 years ago at the end of the second world. The hero couldn't bring the dawn, the entire world fell and evil took over. And so a second faction exists that seems to say, so what about Joy Boy's vision of a dawn? So what if Joy Boy and the D-Tribe passed on this message of how everyone in the world should hold hands and sing Kumbaya and band together for the dawn of the world, and that a warrior of liberation needs to come along and bring the world into this dawn? Who's to say that the alternative isn't correct? Who's to say that this entire world is just so flawed and corrupt that it should all just be burnt to the ground and turned to rubble? The world needs an agent of change, and so maybe a destroyer is the true answer. That is where Rox comes in. Rox likely knew the tales of Nika and went with the alternative interpretation. He felt that the only way to change the world was by turning it to ash. He believed that this is what Nika is supposed to do. And remember, no one is to say whether that interpretation of Nika is correct or incorrect. Vegapunk made it very clear that it literally doesn't matter if a real god Nika ever existed or not. The devil fruit is just born out of people's wishes that such a god existed. And interestingly, considering the descriptions at the end of the first world, maybe the first arrival of Nika, or the first Nika user, whichever it may have been, was as a destructive force in the world, as opposed to how Joy Boy acted at the end of the second world. But that is speculation for another time. What we do know is that there are multiple characters in the modern day who are following in the footsteps of Rox, and they are firmly bent on destroying the world. Blackbeard, we of course know, is the devout follower of Rox. He has literally named his ship the Saber of Xebec. And Blackbeard is a character who is characterized entirely by destruction. He has the power to return everything to nothing, and the power to destroy everything. He wants to destroy any semblance of order. Despite Sengoku explaining how much harm that would cause to the peace-loving, innocent citizens of the world, Blackbeard makes it clear that he does not care what happens to them, and in fact, he disregards the very idea of peace. He makes it clear that he literally wants to destroy everything, to engulf everything. This is why Blackbeard is not the man Roger was waiting for. He's not the one Roger wants to find the One Piece. Because Blackbeard is not a follower of Roger or Joy Boy's ideologies, he is a follower of Xebec's. And this direction that Xebec had planned for the world was the one that Roger fought to stop at God Valley. And we know this because we see that Blackbeard was not the only one that was inspired by Xebec. Loki has now been introduced, and he has made it clear that he wanted to follow Xebec. He regrets not having been able to follow him, and he feels that he was born in the wrong era because Xebec was the one with the right ideology according to Loki, the very same ideology as Blackbeard. Loki believes that he needs to destroy the world, and Loki is very explicit over and over again that he means what he is saying. He genuinely wants to destroy the world. So ultimately, while we have not yet heard Xebec's ideology straight from his own mouth, as we have not yet gotten the God Valley flashback, Oda has made it very clear what Xebec's goals were from looking at his successors. Loki wanted to follow Xebec's path to destroy the world, and Blackbeard also has made it his goal to destroy the world. And so now we have the full second half of the coin. The will of D was just what Joy Boy wanted for the world, but who's to say that Nika isn't supposed to destroy the world? Why can't that be the correct answer? And ultimately, this question goes to the heart of One Piece's two-pronged problem that the entire story revolves around. The first problem is that the world is ruled by an oppressive force. That is obvious. However, the second problem is determining the correct solution to the first problem. To truly bring an end to oppression, is destroying all sense of order and structure needed, or is freeing the subjugated to create a new, more fair society the answer? And this is where the brilliance of Oda's Three Worlds history comes in, because at first I didn't understand the point of Oda writing in an era even before Joy Boy's. This revelation of two prior worlds came as a surprise to most readers, who long thought that the main history we needed to uncover was simply the era of the Ancient Kingdom. But the full history actually goes further back than that. And the reason that Oda wrote the story around two major resets rather than one, and the reason that Oda established that neither of these resets actually created a perfect world, is because Oda needed to establish the complexity of the problem. The fact that the world has gone through multiple resets and still each new iteration of the world has its own problems, with the first world being marked by oppression, the second world being marked by war, and the third world once again being marked by oppression, means that there isn't a simple solution to the question of how do we create a truly harmonious world. Yes, a Nika figure came at the end of both previous worlds, but in neither case did it result in a perfect world afterwards. It's been implied that the dawn of a true perfect world can only be accomplished by Luffy's actions at the end of the third world. And so this two-pronged problem is ultimately what the final war will be about. This is not just a simple story about defeating the Celestial Dragons and ending oppression. This is a story about ending oppression in a way that can truly create a better world permanently. And that's why the second problem of determining what is the right way to overthrow the ruling power is also a crucial conflict that must be resolved in the final war. Emu and Blackbeard are equally important villains for this reason, as they each represent one side of the problem, Emu representing the evil that can oppress the world, and Blackbeard representing the wrong path to dealing with it. And the more we learn about what went wrong at the end of the first world, and what went wrong at the end of the second world, and how these led to two different interpretations of the story of Nika, the closer we get to understanding the full message of what Luffy is meant to do to finally bring the dawn of a truly harmonious world. But first, this month, you can get some of One Piece's all-time classic islands for your walls: Alabasta, Reverse Mountain, Punk Hazard, and even Tequila Wolf. The posters are printed on matte paper, hand-cut by the artist himself. Each of these posters can be purchased individually, or you can get all four of them together for 50% off. You can also still get the premium package if you want to appear on my streams, and in that case you can also choose any poster from 2024 as well. So if you want Alabasta, Reverse Mountain, Punk Hazard, and Tequila Wolf for your walls, just hit the link in the description below. All posters from 2024 will also be available in the complete original set bundle. Now that aside, if we were to look at what the story has shown us so far, the key difference between Luffy and Blackbeard's paths are fairly clear. Luffy, as a warrior of liberation, has historically always been about destroying the established order. By all rights, Luffy is a force of destruction himself. He destroyed Arlong Park, he tore down Drum Kingdom's monarchy, he dethroned God, he turned Dressrosa to rubble, so on and so forth. The narrative even encourages Luffy's destructive actions, with the citizens of the islands he saves commending his actions, characters outright talking about how sometimes it can be right to turn a nation back to nothing, talking about how a land can be reborn after destruction as a new land of freedom. So why then is it that when Blackbeard talks about destroying everything, it's wrong? Well, the difference comes down to one simple thing, and it may sound silly, but it matters. Luffy is doing it for his friends. See, in every case that Luffy has torn down established governments and authority and reduced entire islands back to nothing, Luffy is only destroying everything because Luffy has befriended some character or characters on the island and is now fighting for their sake. And this character Luffy has befriended is generally representative of the people of the island as a whole. Once Luffy connects to this character, he is now fighting on behalf of everyone else on the island who also wants to see their evil government torn down so that they can create a better one. That right there is the key. Luffy is not just destroying an evil government. Luffy is carrying the will of the people themselves who want to free themselves from oppression so that they can restructure their land into a better one. A land of peace, fairness, and harmony. However, in Blackbeard's case, Blackbeard just wants to destroy the government. Not because people want him to, not so that people can create a better government and society afterwards. No, Blackbeard just despises the government that is in place, so he wants to tear everything down. It's not to create a better world for people, and interestingly, if you read Blackbeard's dialogue throughout the Marineford saga, it's hard to say if Blackbeard even believes in the concept of a better world. Blackbeard in fact seems to be so embittered by the way that the world government has ruled that he may think that the world is simply better off without any sort of authority structure at all. This is further reinforced by Blackbeard's conversation with Sengoku. Sengoku explains that despite what Blackbeard thinks, as of right now, the people of the world at large do actually rely on the Marines to protect them from evil pirates. The broader population of the world does not want Blackbeard to destroy the world government and the Marines. The people of the world will suffer if he does this, but Blackbeard doesn't care. He will do it anyway, because it's not about creating a better world for others. And you know what's really interesting is that this very same storyline is the one and only storyline that Luffy has acted in a manner that clearly put the people of the world at harm as well. As I said before, normally when Luffy goes up against evil authoritarian governments, he is doing so on the behalf of others. He is shouldering the desires of others for a better society and destroying the existing establishment for them, so that the people who he's carrying on his back are now free to remake things the way they actually want. Luffy always ends up rebelling and fighting authority for the sake of others. However, in the Marineford saga, Luffy was acting entirely for himself. He just wanted to save Ace. And in this storyline, yes, he's technically fighting against the evil world government, but this time there's no oppressed people who are begging him to do so. Luffy destroying Impel Down isn't saving anyone, it's throwing more innocent people into danger. Now yes, the world at large is secretly extremely oppressed by the world government, but the problem is that the majority of the population doesn't realize it yet. The Marineford saga was too early. The world at large did not want Luffy and the Whitebeard pirates to succeed. That was the point. It's only in the final war, when the entire planet is going to be flooded, that everyone is going to see the light and start clamoring for Luffy to destroy the world government and the Celestial Dragons. When the time is right and the truth comes out, that is when Luffy can take the stage to tear everything down, so that the people of the world can create a new world. That is when the world will be ready for someone to bring it into the dawn. But Marineford was a step too soon, and that was the point. Luffy wasn't ready for that role, in more ways than one. So ultimately, what Oda has been getting at so far is that tearing down oppression is complicated. True, noble rebellion is about the will of the people. The people need to want to rise up and change things. They need to want a better society. And so Luffy is simply the fictional representation of an answer to those who are crying out in need. Luffy has already been Nika, the warrior of liberation, for so many islands so far, long before he ever awakened his fruit. He has always symbolized the manifestation of the people's will. Luffy has always enacted the destruction of the existing order on the behalf of the people, but it has always been on their behalf, so that they can make the true society that they desire. But Blackbeard is just his own person. He is his own independent agent of chaos, just as Rox was. Someone who likely doesn't believe in a world of order and structure. Very likely because Blackbeard grew up as a victim of this world and saw it as too flawed, and so Blackbeard grew up with the intent of tearing everything down for the sake of it, whether the people want it or not. Because to Blackbeard, a world in ruins is better than a world run by injustice. Blackbeard does not believe there is any such thing as a just government. So here we come to the final upcoming crossroads of the story, the successor to Joy Boy and Roger's path, and the successor to Rox's path. One figure that represents the liberating savior, and one figure that represents the destroyer. Blackbeard may very likely believe that he is destined to play the role of Nika, at least what he believes Nika to be, the one who destroys the world. Whereas Luffy, simply by being himself and doing what he has always done, will ultimately play the contrasting role of Nika, the one who saves the world by bringing the people's will into reality. And the final piece of this all is Loki, a character who has fallen victim to the belief in Nika the Destroyer, much like Rox and Blackbeard, but who ultimately seems like he is supposed to be a good character, simply misguided. The deeper story that is set to play through Loki in the Elbaf arc will likely go to one of the primary themes of this storyline. What does it mean to save the world? What is the correct path? So let me know how you believe Loki's story will conclude in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video then definitely like and subscribe, and if you want to hear my extended thoughts on how Blackbeard and Loki's stories will intertwine over Loki's fruit and the role that Shanks played in Loki's story, then you can listen to my weekly podcast that just dropped by becoming a member or by supporting me on Patreon, link in the description below. And make sure to get your Surfshark deal of the day for less than $3 a month. Just go to surfshark.com/Morge or use code Morge for 4 extra months of Surfshark with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Link in the description below or just scan the QR code.